program allows users to enter an access code consisting of 6 to 12 digits, ensuring that the input follows basic validation rules. Once an access code is entered, the user can choose from several analysis functions using the provided buttons. First, the code length feature checks whether the entered access code meets the required number of digits. Next, the even and odd analysis determines how many digits in the code are even and how many are odd. The digit frequency function displays how often each digit appears in the access code, while the most repeated digit feature identifies which number occurs the most. In addition, the reverse code function displays the access code in reverse order, demonstrating basic string manipulation. The pattern check feature analyzes the code for unsafe patterns, such as repeated or sequential digits, helping evaluate the strength of the access code. Digits search that for searching digit, if it is entered or not. Lastly, clear all is to delete all inputs.
Good day everyone, I am Mikylla de Leon, the leader of this group. And we will present the access code analyzer. The user interface is simple. There's an input field where employees can enter a code consisting of 6 to 12 digits. Once the code is entered, the user can click the Validate Access Code button, which triggers our JavaScript function, the check code length. The validation process checks several important rules. The code must only contain digits from 0 to 9. The code must have length between 6 and 12 characters. The code must include at least one even digit and one odd digit. And the code must not have the same digit repeated more than 3 times consecutively. The function works by examining each character of the code individually using for a loop and conditional statements. For examples, it uses the char at method to access each character and checks if it is a number and whether it is even or odd. It also keeps a count of consecutive repeated digits to prevent security violations. If the code passes all checks, the system displays a message saying it is valid access code along with the total number of characters. If any rule is broken, it shows a clear error message so the user knows what needs to be corrected. This approach ensures that all codes are secure and meet company standards while keeping the system simple and user-friendly. It also demonstrates how string manipulation techniques can be used in real-world security applications without relying on advanced JavaScript features. That concludes the explanation of my access code analyzer. Thank you.
Hi everyone, right now I'm going to explain how even and odd analysis works. At first, I created a function called even-odd analysis, and its purpose is to analyze a number entered by the user and identify which digits are even and which are odd. First, the function gets the value from the input field with the ID access code, which where the value is stored in the variable code. It also gets the element with the ID output, which is where the result will be displayed. Before continuing, the function checks if the input is valid by calling the code is valid code. If the input is not valid or is not 6 to 12 digit number, the function will display an error message and stop running using the return statement. Next, the function creates variables to store even digits and odd digits as well as the counter to track how many even and odd digits are found. The function then uses a for loop to go through each number of the input one by one. Example, for every digit it checks if the digit is 2, 4, 6, or 8, which are even numbers. If the digit is even, it is added to the even list and the even counter is increased. Otherwise, the digit is considered odd and it will be added to the odd list and the odd counter is increased. After checking all the digits, the function displays the final result. It shows the total number of even digits and odd digits along with the actual digits found. In summary, this function separates the input number into even and odd digits, counts them, and shows the result to the user.
Dangal greetings everyone. This code is used to count how many times each digit appears in a 12-digit code entered by the user. First, the program checks if the user input is a valid 12-digit code. If the code is not complete or not correct, it will display the message 12-digit code first, and then stop the program using the return statement. This prevents the counting process from running when the input is invalid. After that, the code creates a variable called result, which will store the output that will shown later. Next, the program uses a loop that goes from 0 to 9. This means it checks every possible digit from 0 up to 9. For each digit, it converts it into a string so it can properly compare it with the character inside the code. Then another loop goes through each character of the code. If the current digit matches the character, the program increases the count. This is how it counts, how many times the digit appears in the code. After checking the whole code, if the digit appears at least once, it adds the digit and it counts into the result. Finally, the program displayed the complete output using inner HTML. If no digits were counted, it will display no digits found. In short, this code checks the input and counts the frequency of each digit in the 12-digit code.
The most repeated digit function determines which digit or digits appear most frequently in the user access code. It first retrieves the access code and checks if it is valid. If it's 6 to 12 digits using the isValid function. If the code is invalid, an error message is displayed and the function stops. If the code is valid, the function loops through digits 0 to 9 and counts how many times each digit appeared in the code. It keeps track of the highest number of occurrences and stores the digit or digits with that count. If multiple digits have the same highest frequency, they are all included. Finally, the function displays the most repeated digit along with the number of times they appear.
Explaining the pattern check function of our Prelim group project. What this function does. This function checks if the access code has any digit repeat more than 3 times consecutively. Code breakdown. First, we get the access code from the input field and check if it's valid using validation function. We use getElementById to get the user's input. If the code isn't valid, we show an error message and stop execution with return. The pattern detection logic. Here's the core logic that finds consecutive repeats. Count equals 1 starts counting from the first digit. We use a for loop to examine each character starting from position 1. Comparing digits. This is where we compare each digit with previous one. Code.char at I gets the current digit. Code.char at I minus 1 gets the previous digit. If they're the same, we increment the count. If the count exceeds to 3, we set invalid pattern equals true and break to stop checking. We use break for efficiency. Once we find the 4 in a row, we don't need to check further. Resetting the count. When digits are different, we reset the counter. This resets count back to 1 whenever we encounter new digit. This ensures we only count consecutive repeat. Display the result. Finally, we display the result. This uses a ternary operator, a compact if-else statement. If invalid pattern is true, show invalid pattern detected. Otherwise, show valid pattern. Why this matter for security? Security-wise, this prevents predictable patterns hackers could guess, simple repeated consequence, and code that are easy to brute force. By limiting consecutive repeat to 3, we ensure access code have sufficient randomness. This solution follows all constraints, uses only char at for character access, uses only for loops, no parse int or numbers, or no regular expression.
The digit search function is used to find how many times a digit 0 to 9 appears in the access code entered by the user. First, it gets the value from the input with the ID access code and the output element where the result will be displayed. The function checks if the code is valid using this valid code. It must be 6 to 12 digits. If it is not valid, an error message is shown and the process stops. If the code is valid, the user is asked to enter a digit through a prompt and the input is validated to ensure it is single digit from 0 to 9. The function then scan each character of the code to count how many times the digit appears and to determine the first position where it is found. Finally, if the digit is not found, a does not exist message is displayed. Otherwise, it shows how many times the digit appears and the position of this per occurrence.
Hello, greetings. I'm Justin Ternal, and now I will report or explain the reverse code function. So, in the reverse code function, as you see, the beginning is the function reverse code parenthesis, and it means the function of reverse code. And the next is the document get element by ID access code value. So this you gonna put it means the value entered by the user that you will put in the input box. And the next is that just like that document get element output. So this the line na the result will be shown in output. So valid code. So if invalid is code, so it means it will check if the code is valid or not valid. So valid code, so it means it's not valid. So that line that means. And another is output inner HTML. So please enter 6 to 12 digit code. So it will show the error message if the code is invalid. Like if you put a 5 numbers only, so it will show the error message. Return means function is invalid, and the let reverse, it means the string and store the reverse code. And the loop starts for the let I code length, the last character of the code. It will the start of the loop. Reverse code char at each character to add character to reverse in reverse code, like example 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, or 1 2 3 4 5 7 8, so 8 7 6 5 4 3 2 1, just like. And the output reverse code, the line of plus reverse, so it will display the reverse code in the screen. That's all. And also the clear all function, it will clear the all in the screen. And the access code value, that clears the input field and the output. Next, output and access code, like the same. Input field clears the input field and clears the output text. So that's all. That it will only check the input, the reverse code, and show the results. And clear all means clear input and output. That's all. It's so clear.